We move to motion C, and I invite Ruth French, convener of the Education Committee, to speak to this motion.
Delegate number 72, Aberdeenshire, Ruth French. The SSTA calls on the Scottish Government to introduce a National 4 gradable external examination in order to improve the value of the qualifications. How many of you have thought this? Most, if not all, I would suggest. It is a cry we hear from teachers, from management, from parents and employers. We need this to protect us as teachers and pupils from the pressures exerted by parents, some senior managements and local authorities. How many school managements will stand up to parents and say, no, your child is working at National 4 and should do National 4? And if they did, how many of those would be backed by their local authority? I would suggest not very many. Government is rightly worried by the number of pupils sitting assessments at the wrong level. Too many people failing National 5 in particular. I would suggest that introducing an external examination at the end of National 4 would largely solve this problem in one stroke. National 4 would then be seen to be equable, fair and independent. It would give real currency to the qualification for pupils, for parents and for employers. At present, we're teaching our National 4 pupils that there is no benefit in trying harder, aiming to do better. Is this really a life lesson we should be giving our pupils? I would say absolutely not. Pass-fail is a disaster for these pupils. We should give them the respect we afford their peers and allow them the opportunity to shine at National 4. Good passes at National 4, in theory, should mean the transition to National 5 would be more successful too, possibly. Another worry, possibly, for the qualifications and assessment group sorted. Fallout of this change would mean that the number of National 3 pupils will increase. Where have all the Fundi pupils gone? Fewer genuine National 3 pupils would be squeezed through a National 4 course. I question the real value of forcing pupils, that is, squeezing them through courses that are not actually appropriate for them. In my subject in particular, this means that gaps in knowledge and understanding can be missed and not fixed. Getting this right in S4 would mean fewer incorrect levels in S5. How many of you have had pupils shoehorned through a level only to have them returned next session to do the next level? Someone somewhere thinks that if you have passed National 4 this year, then you should automatically be able to sit National 5 next year. Now, in 2011, before we had the real experience of National 4, a motion very similar to this was debated at Congress and passed. We have now had the real experience of National 4, and my views have only become more certain as I see the disillusioned pupils, parents asserting my child is not doing National 4, managements crumbling under the weight of the demands of parents and local authorities possibly, and the whole idea, I know we don't have league tables, but is that really true? And teachers despairing as they feel it is their responsibility to get these pupils through these tests, not just their responsibility to prepare these children for these tests. Delegates, I beg you to support the motion.
Thank you very much, Ruth. We have a seconder, Ruth. James Cowan's coming up to second. I can remind you, if you want to offer a floor contribution, to come to the front. Try try and keep things moving.
Hi, James Cowens, Delegate 64. When we proposed this at the Education Committee, we did have a real good discussion about it. How does this impact on pupils who are targeted at National 4, or, if you like, in the schools that I teach in, we often classify it as being moved down, which is completely the wrong approach to it. Undervaluing a national qualification. Very much at the centre of this proposal is the well-being of the pupil and how that pupil progresses. Our system is supposed to allow us to go from a National 4, National 5, possibly even going right through and taking the subject further up to allow the pupil to do that. How are we as teachers supposed to assess whether a National 4 pupil goes to a National 5, depending how they do with all the internal assessments? Are the internal assessments robust enough to allow us to make that decision? Does the National 4 pupil then go through the National 5 and then at the end of the day not get the qualification? I would urge you to support this motion. By doing so, you will find that the whole attainment for the National 4 pupils will rise, and their enthusiasm, hopefully, for doing the qualification will also rise with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, James. Come on up, Sandra.
Sandra Richardson, Delegate 62. My thoughts were just sort of forming as I was sitting there, and it went something along the lines of, all we're doing with a huge number of students these days are getting ticks on boxes so that we can prove they've hit the National 4, so that our head teachers can force us through to having the Nat 5. I know that's been said. So the thought that's sort of raging in my head now is, what about the education? What are our students thinking about what education means? It's become only being forced through courses, and they are leaving school, leaving our educational establishments with this horrible sense of what learning's about. And we could actually be killing their love for learning by just making them pass exams. Not exams, course requirements.
Thank you very much. And Alison, choose a podium.
There we go. I'm choosing this one. Alison Corralo, Delegate 22. I'd just like to flip it a little bit, because in my school, I've been doing National 4 with a class, and there were some people in that class that shouldn't have been doing National 4. But unfortunately, when they found out that National 4 didn't require an exam, they thought that it would be better to go in there. Now, that has got to have a direct impact on the attainment gap. And if we are trying to change it, if we give kids a way out and their parents support them in that, then they will be doing National 4 when really they should be trying to get better attainment and moving forward. So while I understand that there is this thing for pupils to maybe go up to National 5 and it's too far for them, but there's also that blowback down to that. So I would support this motion very much. Thank you.
Okay, I think as all the speakers have been in support of the motion, we can move to a vote. Could I see hands in favour, please? And those against? And any abstentions? Okay, so largely carried.